Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're stepping into one of the most tragic and heartbreaking chapters in reggae history, a story that goes beyond music and fame. This is the night that Peter Tosh's life was cut short in a devastating turn of events. We'll explore the bravery of those involved, the loss of a revolutionary voice, and the lasting impact of that fateful night. So, sit tight as we journey through the story of Carlton Davis, Peter Tosh's drummer, and the night everything changed. On September 11, 1987, Carlton Davis found himself at Peter Tosh's residence, lying face down with a weapon aimed at his head. The tragic series of events began when Marlene Brown, Tosh's wife and his manager, was the first target. Winston "Doc" Brown was fatally harmed on the spot, while Peter Tosh endured multiple injuries that led to his passing at the University of the West Indies Hospital several hours later. Renowned radio host Jeff "Frey" Dixon was also critically wounded and succumbed to his injuries days later. Other casualties included Frey's wife, Joy, along with Peter Tosh's drummer, Carlton Davis, and their friend Michael Robinson. The man responsible for this heartbreaking incident was Dennis Lippolavin, assisted by two accomplices. Welcome to Music Icon Documentary. In this edition, we dive into the life of Carlton Davis, Peter Tosh's former drummer, who faced accusations from Marlene Brown during an interview with Mutabaruka. Brown alleged that Davis, rather than assisting the injured Tosh to the hospital, left on his own. She recalled a moment when someone advised her, "Marlene, you have to take care of Peter now." But she noted the alleged hesitation from Davis. Davis, known to many as Santa, explained during the interview that the circumstances were dire and confusing. Brown described how events unfolded quickly, stating that despite their attempts, they couldn't get Peter to the hospital in time. She expressed her belief that Santa had opportunities to help but chose not to. Now, let's take a deeper look at Carlton Davis's journey. Born on November 21, 1953, in Kingston 13, Jamaica, Davis has established himself as one of the most distinguished drummers in reggae music, both in live performances and recordings. His illustrious career has seen him collaborate with legendary names like Jimmy Cliff, Black Uhuru, Burning Spear, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs, and Ziggy Marley, to name just a few. As a studio drummer, Davis has left an indelible mark on the reggae genre, contributing to timeless tracks such as Africa Unite, Coming In From the Cold, and Chant Down Babylon from Bob Marley's acclaimed albums Survival and Uprising. He also played a significant role in albums like Bunny Wailer's Liberation and Burning Spear's Marcus Garvey. In 1976, Davis joined Jimmy Cliff's tour, following the global success of the film The Harder They Come and its soundtrack. That same year, Peter Tosh released his groundbreaking solo album Legalize It. Bunny Wailer introduced Davis to Tosh, recommending him as the ideal drummer for Tosh's band. While their first recording together, Catchy Shubby, was a success, Davis had prior commitments with Jimmy Cliff at the time. Years later, as fate would have it, Peter Tosh crossed paths with Davis once again, this time ready to invite him on a world tour. Davis accepted, marking the beginning of a 6-year partnership during the height of Tosh's international stardom. Throughout these years, Davis and Tosh shared a deep connection, rarely spending a day apart. In Davis's own words, Peter Tosh was an incredibly generous, kind, and humble person. A man of few words, Tosh only spoke when necessary but always maintained a sharp sense of humor. He was deeply knowledgeable, keeping himself informed about the world through avid reading. Tosh was also a dedicated professional, never arriving late and consistently delivering outstanding performances. As a musician, Peter Tosh treated his bandmates with the utmost respect, trusting them completely. He even allowed them to create the set list for each performance, usually giving a simple nod of approval with a "yeah man." Tosh's approach made the band feel as if he was working for them, rather than the other way around. One figure who emerged during Tosh's rise to fame was Dennis Lobin, known around Kingston as Leppo. Leppo had a troubled past, having spent time in prison, but like many others, he gravitated toward Tosh after his success. Although Peter had a compassionate nature and was always willing to lend a helping hand, individuals like Leppo often took advantage of his kindness. Marlene Brown, Peter's wife, whom he married in Nigeria, had a strong distrust for Lepo. She repeatedly warned Peter to be cautious around him, especially because of Lepo's criminal history. According to court records, Lepo had served time for taking a life. There were also claims that Marlene exerted a significant amount of control over Peter's life, driving a wedge between him and many of his closest friends. Santa Davis, Tosh's drummer, once recounted how Peter had raised a samurai sword against Bunny Wailer, supposedly at Marlene's urging. Santa believed that this event marked the beginning of Peter's downward spiral. One incident that fueled the tension involved a comment Marlene made to Lepo, using a derogatory Jamaican term for a homosexual. Lepo took offense and began spreading the word that Peter had no control over his wife, vowing to get revenge. The tragic day arrived on Friday, September 11th, 1987. Peter had just returned from the United States, and Carlton Santa Davis was at his house shortly after sunset. Others present included Wilton Doc Brown, Michael Robinson, Peter, and Marlene. Later, Jeff Frey Dixon, a local disc jockey, and his wife joined them. Lepo and his gang burst in, declaring, "This is a hold-up." Lepo directed his words at Marlene, claiming she was the reason this was happening. He demanded to know where the safe was, but Peter insisted there was no money in the house, saying, "Monday, I go to the bank." The intruders did not believe him and subjected Peter to hours of torment in an attempt to extract money. Lepo, once a man Peter had helped find work after his release from prison, became increasingly frustrated. He took the $300 from Santa's wallet and his watch. The gang did not wear masks, and Lepo, fully aware that he would be recognized, coldly stated, "No partiality." As the night progressed, the tension escalated. Finally, one of the men said to Peter Tosh, "You're dying tonight." A brief silence followed, and then Lepo and his accomplices began firing their weapons indiscriminately. After the chaos subsided, there was a moment of eerie quiet. Santa, unsure if the gunmen were still in the house, cautiously made his way to the bathroom. He later told Marlene that he was struggling to breathe and had lost feeling on the left side of his body. Despite his condition, he managed to get to his Jeep and drove, using only his right side, 10 minutes to the University of the West Indies Hospital. He collapsed as soon as he arrived, into the arms of hospital staff who rushed him to the emergency room. Minutes later, Peter Tosh and Frey Dixon were also brought into the hospital. Santa found himself in between the two men, Frey fighting for his life on one side, grunting and struggling, while on the other side, Peter lay motionless as doctors worked furiously to revive him. Then, one of the doctors turned to Santa and solemnly said, "I'm afraid Mr. Tosh has left us." Marlene Brown later accused Carlton Santa Davis of refusing to take Peter Tosh to the hospital in his Jeep that night. In response, Davis denied ever having such a conversation with her. As we reflect on the life of Peter Tosh and the tragedy of his untimely death, we're reminded of the fragility of life and the resilience of those left behind. Carlton Santa Davis's story, like so many others, highlights the complexities of loyalty, love, and loss in a world filled with unpredictability. But through it all, Peter Tosh's legacy as a fierce advocate for justice and equality continues to inspire us. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If the story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, let's keep the spirit of love, justice, and freedom alive.